Right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for Rakugo, Season 2, Episode 9. Alright, we had ourselves a really wholesome moment that was rudely interrupted by the police. Mm-hmm. Yakumo is still, able to, at the very least, kind of perform this and just have his time with friends and family.
But will this...
Yeah.
Now that the moment has been broken... Yeah. Can it be put back together, right? Was it a thing that was only going to happen once and that was it? And that was the stars aligning, our own little miracle? Or will we be able to get to see this again? Will he be able to reclaim his love for Rakugo?
Yeah. It's anyone's guess at this point.
Yep.
One of the things that we have kind of particularly to look forward to, though, is that in that previous episode, it set up some secret between the mob boss and Yakumo.
Mm-hmm.
Something that
he owes him for.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So,
maybe we'll get that this episode, possibly?
Yeah. At the very least, I think they're going to start to unveil it because we only have so many episodes left.
Yeah, we're going to be done with this show soon.
I mean, think
about it.
There could be a season 3, but I mean, we'll see. We'll see. But y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone. Now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, and then come back here for the discussion. Okay, I think at this point, even though we've said it probably before, this show is art.
Yeah.
About this point, it almost feels like redundant to say, even though I might not have literally said those words.
But it's absolutely incredible in so many ways, and the weird thing about it is that when it does a lot of the things that it does, they don't quite make sense to me. They almost feel dissonant sometimes. But then as it continues, and I kind of let it wash over me, it's like, it absolutely makes perfect sense.
Right. It's basically the presentation of the painting. And we're getting the washes as it's almost being like kind of unveiled. Because painting, for instance, as an art form, you would put on layers. And as the layers are applied, you realize what kind of art the creator is making. But then once you even get the full picture, you have to spend time observing and interpreting what you're actually seeing.
Well,
and I feel like that's been especially the second season.
Well, and a lot of the time when you're looking super close, it doesn't much look like anything.
That's true.
Like one of the things that I love in paintings is how sometimes with very little detail they can communicate something that is very complicated, right?
Sure.
And if you look up close, it's just like, okay, there's some brushstrokes here, and they're very obvious, right? It's not photorealistic. Mm-hmm. And then when you actually back away from it, you're like, whoa. And I feel like that's a lot of the times what this show does, where when I'm looking at it up close in the episode, certain things I'm like, I see kind of what they're doing here, and then certain other times I'm like, I'm not sure, right? But then when you step back,
step back a second.
And the show makes you step back every so often, which is very helpful.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I would say that it is in the moments where the show is being less obvious that I go, okay, this is kind of the clever aspect of the directing or the sequence of the scenes that we're showing or the timing of when the transitions happen to showcasing a certain character's expression or what have you means something more. It's then when they go in and be really obvious what they're doing within a specific character's mind or just story specifically. Then we go, oh, wait a minute. This is hearkening back to those points that felt vague and giving a little bit of insight into what might have been going on in the heads of this, because this was something that I wanted to bring up rather quickly. The whole first scene here, basically with the bit with them in the bathhouse and what have you, feels very much like some aspect of Yakumo is basically getting the opportunity to be vulnerable. And he mentions little things like, stop wailing like you're in one of hell's cooking pots. And immediately I thought, oh, that's how you feel it is.
Right. That's
Yakumo.
Projecting a bit much, right?
And then this is basically foreshadowing for the flames there.
Well, and also the whole idea that this feels like a very strong parallel to the bathhouse at the end of season 1. with Sukeroku and Bon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's other lines where I immediately was like, okay, that's just funny. But the idea that he's like, oh, the whole thing's still burned into my mind either way. I'm like, that's a good one. I mean, you don't see that kind of performance in a venue like that very often.
Right. The idea of basically the venue being burned. Yeah.
Right. And then the prison performance, the idea that he's imprisoned by Rakugo and he kind of wants to be free by taking it with him is just, But then when we get kind of the idea that, okay, he's going to do this, you know, Shin-san, that's the kid. Yeah, the kid is like, we'll do this or what have you. And, you know, we're setting the more foreshadowing for the fact that he's going to die doing Rakugo.
Right.
It's actually the point where he's doing the Rakugo here, and they have the little bits of like, oh, it's actually like there's a shamisen in the Rakugo story that is getting referenced as it's being played.
It's like, man, he really picked this one out for not just for the people in the prison, but also for himself. Like, jeez.
But I kind of want to bring up a little bit of a thing here that this has to be intentional.
What?
There's a part here where they're setting up basically the Bon is setting up the Rakugo story and what have you, being locked away in the warehouse under threat. In other words, he was serving a prison sentence. But then you have Matsuda already starting to cry a little bit,
but with a smile on his face.
With a unique smile on his face.
Yeah.
And while this is happening, this is him being, I would say, excited that Bon is doing Rakugo. That's the first immediate interpretation I had of that. But I'm like, oh, that's great. And then we go, okay, yeah, and Yotaro looking like, oh, look at my master. He's doing
but not
this.
Konatsu. Yeah.
But Konatsu is
right.
Not happy about this.
Because she has the other piece that she's playing and
well, she's not playing right here.
Well, right. But she knows that she's going to, and the whole idea of the how on the nose it is probably in a lot of ways.
Well, that's the thing. I want to know where it's actually on the nose, because I feel like this is the part where I'm like, well, I don't actually see an easy translation of the story's events in the Rakugo, because they use the Rakugo over and over and over again in this show to bring focus to something that's happening in the real world of their lives and what have you. And, that's the other thing. Yakumo mentions that he's going to basically be doing a story of his own. It's like, I would like to tell a story of my own now. And this is part of his intro here.
Wow.
So this is actually something that is drawn from something with regards to, Miyokichi in the past and stuff. So, like, we are getting him telling us a story, and I think this is some kind of continuation, if anything, of stuff that they've been building up for more reveals. And since there's a good, 3 episodes left, we could have more being unveiled here, and then this is basically just the establishing of it. And there's multiple times where they go back to Konatsu. She is not enjoying this in some way. And every time they go back to her, it's not that she looks angry, because a lot of times she seems like the fiery redhead character who, I'm so frustrated with you and all that. But these points, she just looks
somber and
beaten,
sad and
somber.
Yeah.
But like, what is that tied to?
Well, because with Konatsu, I feel like it's something where, because she blames Yakumo for the death of her father, but she still cares about him, right? Okay. And she can see the heart behind the stories that he tells, especially when he involves her in it like this, right? Where she knows what's coming, essentially. I'm not entirely sure how literal it was supposed to be, of like that Yakumo actually wrote this Rakugo story. Maybe he did, but either way,
okay, sorry, go ahead.
Either way, it's something where she knows that she has a part to play, and she knows what part it is, when it's supposed to happen, in the context of everything, right? So while the rest of them, I don't know how much they necessarily know about the performance that he's going to give, she does. right?
Okay, so that's an interesting perspective on it. So that it's not just that there's potentially some kind of emotion coming from this because it's Yakumo telling the story, but it's specifically because she has a part to play in the actual delivery of the story as the performance.
Well,
but then also she might even potentially be a part of the actual story.
Yeah, well,
because it's,
right, it's
his
her
past is her past in a lot of ways.
Well, and the her voice, right? Like that's it's Miyokichi's voice, right?
Right. Okay.
And maybe it's, and she might not necessarily be privy to all of that, but at the very least she has foresight about the story and how it's going to go, and that he's done these kinds of stories before, right?
Oh.
Like,
okay, yeah.
So
uh-huh.
and they know that he was on that bridge to to kill himself, right? So so it's
okay. This is him turning his past into a little bit of a fairy tale.
Okay.
Now run with me on this. And it's something that puts a warmer light maybe on this cold aspect of her past. The whole snow thing is what's kind of bringing this to mind here, is that there's a cold kind of bit that just robs them of their happiness in the ending of this story. It's a very sad story and what have you. But I think she might even be looking at that and going, I don't like that you're romanticizing the parting of you and my mother, because I think she at the very least understands
that connection. Yeah,
she understands that connection. She's smart enough and old enough at this point to understand that there was some stuff basically going on.
Well, and the fact that he's choosing to tell this one means there's clearly that he's not doing well, right? And for everyone else,
know he's not doing well.
We know that he's not doing well.
I mean,
and we had the whole thing of the red eyes on the Sukeroku, in the OP. But for new Sukeroku and for Matsuda, I feel like because he's doing Rakugo, they're like, this is progress, right? This is progress. Whereas for Konatsu, I feel like she's seeing it as this is him basically saying, it's part of him slipping further away.
But so okay. There's this part here. Go to pray at the Buddha altar, light a stick of incense, and have a drink in her honor. And she starts to actually kind of pick up a little bit there. That's because she's going to start playing the shamisen. But the fact that she starts singing this, and yet she can't hold back her own emotion regarding it and starts to cry. And this is something that I am okay. There was one vulnerable point with Yakumo in the past with Konatsu that was kind of like where stood out to me that kind of this reminded me of. Remember when she was half asleep?
Yeah.
And she like clung to him and she just was crying and just like holding there, but it was her realization when she woke up that she was clinging to him. And she like freaks out that that's happening here. I feel like this is her having developed and kind of come to that point to where she's maybe realizing that she won't be able to cling onto him anymore. Like he is moving on, or he is starting to let go.
Well, but
because she wanted him to die. Like that's
right.
She wants him to take responsibility. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I think that she's past that. Like not fully past it, but it's not in the same as it was when she was young, right? Because when she's young, it's all fiery and and all that, right?
Well, a lot of big things have changed also in the second season.
A lot of big things have changed since then. So she knows that she cares about him, but it's that conflict of, but you killed my dad, right? Like, so how do I reconcile those things? And then, and I feel like, cause when she starts singing, you can tell that, that new Sukeroku, third generation is surprised by it, right? Like, I don't think he saw this coming. And one of the things that blows me away in this show is how it handles the pacing for things, because it'll go into these super in-depth, drawn-out, like Rakugo stories, right? That are absolutely wonderful. They're immersive. They paint very detailed, vivid pictures of what's going on, in the characters' psyches and everything.
But they're slow-paced.
Oh, yeah. And then they'll do these other things where they'll kind of have like mini time skips, right? Where, okay, now
lots of stuff happened.
Yeah, and now Yakumo, then later he's in the building, and there's the whole fire motif, and then it's on fire, and then it's like, oh wait, it's really on fire, and then all of a sudden Sukeroku's there, right?
Yeah.
Third generation.
Sukeroku, third generation, yeah.
Right,
yeah.
well, which I feel like is very fitting, because there's the ghost of Sukeroku that's really just Yakumo's own tortured, memory of him, right? Which we know isn't actually him. They made that very pointed this episode. And then the real Sukeroku shows up and carries him out, right? And it blows me away that the show is able to have moments with that much impact when the pace is so fluid. Like it, it'll go really slow during the Rakugo stories, and then speed up a little bit, and then slow again when Yakumo's having his whole conversation with the Shinigami and everything, and then Sukeroku's there, and it's real fire and it's burning down.
Right, fluid meaning it changes very dynamically.
Yes,
and it's not built up to. And it is very quick in when it changes.
Yes, and a lot of times in stories that can be incredibly jarring, right? When you have those pacing shifts like that, and usually you especially don't want to do them when you're in the immediate moment of something, right? Like you don't want to have it suddenly, like usually you'll do that for like time skips and montages and where it's like, okay, now we finished up with this detailed stuff, we're going to go on like a just sort of, go through this stuff. Time passes,
it can be really
whatever,
jarring.
Right? And that's right. And even then that's usually one of the least jarring ways to do it. Here, they do it in the immediate sense of this is when the place is actually burning down, right? Like changing from slow to fast paced within that and then immediately resolving it that quickly. That's something that blows my mind that they're able to do and make it work. And
it tells us also where the importance of the story being delivered is. It is not in those transitions.
Right.
It's not in the actual events taking place.
Exactly.
It is in the hearts of the people communicating their stories through the Rakugo performance.
Yep.
So the stuff where they basically have all three Sukerokus show up, basically. We have Sukeroku as he was, kind of lighthearted and yeah, man.
Glad I didn't say anything stupid,
yeah, exactly.
You can hear me? Yeah.
And then the god of performance, the dark, twisted version where it's basically this is what killed you, Yakumo, in a lot of ways. This is what
has been killing you. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to bring up something rather dark here. I think Yakumo is projecting and internalizing out that his Rakugo came because of him encountering this god of performance, Sukeroku, as a kid.
Gotcha.
And because of that, the thing that he never wanted to do in the first place set him on this path. And now that he's here on this path, he ended up bringing about and being a part of all this pain.
Sure.
And now he wants to end it all, end the pain, end the suffering, end the memory even of it. So he twists it into something horrible. But he has to take it with him, because otherwise he leaves this mark as if it
this scar.
It happened. It has its mark on the world. And this is his own selfish way of basically saying, I want to disconnect myself from those other people so that they don't have to bear any pain that I wrought.
Yeah.
And that,
because suicide is the most selfish thing you can do.
Well, just the aspect of the fact that he sees the Rakugo as something that he needs to take with him, that is something that I loved was as a distinction there, because we were theorizing a while ago that he wanted Rakugo to fall apart and fail, which under a certain perspective is accurate, but it's more than that. It's not more than that. It's more specific than that. It's actually his Rakugo that he wants to end.
And in a lot of ways, his Rakugo came about because of Sukeroku, but then also Sukeroku's death.
Yep.
Right? Like the level of emotion that he brings into his characters, he still had that when Sukeroku was alive, right? But after he was gone, like people have mentioned throughout the show that like the way he does certain types of stories and whatnot, it just it absolutely captivates them.
Yep.
Right? And
I have to wonder on some level, like specifically with Bon of Yakumo, that if when he thinks back to Sukeroku and he thinks back to all these good times that did happen,
right?
If in order for him to actually see it in a way as something that needs to go, he has to eventually stop performing Rakugo, because it in some ways will always bring with it this blend of the good stuff that he had. So his not playing Rakugo or moving more towards the dark, necrotic, death-based Rakugo is him trying to taint his own past specifically so that he feels himself as worthy of death.
Sure, that way he's not leaving anything behind, right? Because they brought it up. Death is scary. This is what death is, right? Are you really ready for that?
Because he's not.
Right, he's not.
He panicked and he's like, did you see he had burn marks all over his eye and cheek there? Like, he's all, like, the pain just was enough to have him be like, I don't want to die.
Yeah, exactly. So,
it's just great because I don't see this as a simple story of someone who had a really powerfully painful sequence of events in their past.
Yeah.
It is actually the struggle of someone getting pulled apart by both life and death, past, present. This whole struggle just focused directly into one character who then gets multiple aspects of themselves kind of shown or linked in the other characters. It's just, Yakumo's my favorite character in this, obviously, hands down, because that's what this show primarily was made for, was to unveil this amazing character.
Yep.
But it's these moments where we get more into his head where I'm like, oh my god, so good.
This has to be mentioned.
Ooh, okay.
Right? And we mentioned it during the episode. But when Third Generation is reaching out his hands to Yakumo, and it's the same way that Bon reached his hand out for Sukeroku, that I don't know why I was expecting anything different. I don't know why that surprised me. Because of course they would do that, right? But the idea that it was something where he had to actually take his hand. Right?
Yeah.
And that in the story that he gave, even though it wasn't the true one, Sukeroku specifically let go of his hand. Right? Right? Like, that with everything that they do, to try and help him, he's still the one that has to actually reach out.
Yeah.
Right?
And
because it takes two to tango. And he did. And he did. And it's my hope that is the last time we see Red Eyes Sukeroku in the OP.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Which, by the way, is
of all the
all kinds of chilling.
Yeah. If there's anything that you can do in a visual medium to take what was probably one of the most warm and just wholesome feeling character anytime you saw them and turn them into a harbinger of doom with just the simplest change. I just take my hat off.
This goes to show that you don't actually need to have some crazy visual effects in order to communicate what you want to communicate, right? Yep. That a lot of times less is more, and less is more. Just the decision to have this thing that had been previously built up. We're familiar with it, right? We know what to expect, and then just do that one tiny thing differently, and everything's different.
Yeah.
Like,
I will say also, to add to that, they did actually go a little bit over the top in a good way here, in addition to the Red Eyes, meaning that's kind of the minimalist approach. They had the voice actor for Sukeroku go really sinister. He changed his voice specifically. And it was something
even before it went all Shinigami mode with skeleton and, strands of hair and everything. Which, by the way, was a fantastic visual.
There's another kind of aspect of this story that goes into some of the metaphysical things, but I think one of the biggest parts of this is whenever they kind of bring up the past, there's this aspect of Yakumo kind of being a dead man walking. It's kind of a motif, not only with him being a Shinigami, but I almost want to go back and see if there was a specific point where he did kind of begin to die, because I don't think it was actually as clear as something impactfully strong that happened.
Like when Sukeroku died, like
I don't think it was
before.
I think
or
it was
after.
I think it was before that. I actually think that one of the things that they've been bringing up over and over again as a repetitive bit with Yakumo is that he is a dead man walking.
Yeah.
But I actually think that as they go and more into it, these things about him talking about, like, I can't end this until I've met the god of performance, things like that, where I go, well, to you, Sukeroku was the god of performance. And then we show that here in that it kind of was. But I actually wonder if that's a little bit of the point that this is him tainting it so much, was that there was a part of him way at the beginning where just him having to feel like he had to compete to garner the not the attention, but like kind of to feel worthy and what have you, to surpass Sukeroku. He was already starting to die just within that struggle.
Well, if we take what we have with Yakumo as far as themes and everything here, it kind of goes back to the very beginning of the show. Yeah. Because right now, he's kind of a dead man walking, that there's something that he loves, but he's lost the thing that he loves, and he carries the scars from the fact that he once loved it and now has lost it. Right? Both in the case of Rakugo and in the case of Sukeroku. If we go back to the very beginning, he wanted to be a geisha dancer, right? And
chronologically.
Right.
So you're not even going back to the performance where he was talking about death and all of that.
Yeah, not the first episode, right?
Not the first episode, but like, chronologically when he was a kid.
When he was a little kid, he wanted to be a geisha dancer. Except, then he found out he couldn't, right? And he also got injured, right? So it's something where the thing was taken away from him, and he has the scar to remember it, right? And then it goes on, and it basically continues, and then he's forced into this other thing that he doesn't really, want to do, but then he ends up, getting the love for it, and then it, ends up getting taken away later, and then there's the whole thing with Miyokichi, where, that happens, then it gets taken away, and Sukeroku, and gets taken away, even Konatsu, and then gets taken away, with the fact that then he has to, do the lie, right? Because there was that point when they were living happily together, right? And so now he's sort of,
that has been repeated.
That's been something that's kind of been his whole life, and now he's in this point where he's like, okay, well, I'm just gonna go now.
I don't want to keep repeating that. Can we just get off this train right now?
Like even the whole thing of like the friend of his, that gets arrested, right? 6 years. Okay, that might not seem like, okay, it's 6 years. That's a while, but it's not too crazy long. But for Yakumo,
that might be it.
That's basically like there's a very good chance I'm never going to see this guy again, right?
Yeah.
Like because he's old. He's old.
Yeah. Wasn't he supposed to be here? Was this not? Was this not the actual same place? This is something that I actually wanted to bring up. There's a part where they showcase a character. So he's saying, "Yep, I got one thing. You need to die stage first. You do performance with at Suzugamori Penitentiary. You left that unfinished. Now there's a part where they are having the Rakugo performance go on, and I think there's a part where here it is. After 2 hours, they take one from the board. The gauge to pay with the Tamaguchi for each stick.
Yeah, and then they show a figure smiling.
That's clearly the mob boss. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
But the thing is that it's like it's the only time we ever see that.
Right. Yeah, you would think that they would show him.
Yeah, in the actual audience or what have you.
Unless maybe the point of it is that one, he's been sort of reduced to just being like everyone else. Like he's got the same haircut or whatever and all that stuff. And potentially, that from the point of Yakumo, he's gone, right? He's in his mind, like, yeah, he's doing this amazing performance for the prisoners, but in a lot of cases, because of what's going to end up happening later, he's kind of performing for no one, like he's doing it for himself as a way to connect with the spirits of the dead, basically.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He did finally hear Sukeroku third generation Xeno Kori.
Yep.
And he said that, no, I don't like it. Making a performance lighter or easier to understand means nothing if the art lacks refinement. Wow.
Mm-hmm. And he finally accepted the help of Hisan.
Hisan, yeah, that's true.
Which kind of throws a different spin on it, because since most of the times that we've seen the two of them interact has been from Yakumo's perspective, because he's been not doing well, it makes sense that he'd be kind of pushing him away in these things where he's kind of like being like, no, I'm going to help you out, kind of a deal.
This is something that's rather also interesting. The performance that he gives, the Shinigami performance or what have you. And then Sukeroku, as a wholesome version of him, shows up and goes, hey, 8th generation. And he looks great.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And he's like, huh? You can hear me? It's like, why are you speaking? And he like freaks out. He's like, huh? You can hear me? And it's kind of this moment of like, huh, that's weird. And he goes, I bet that's his doing. And I'm like, wait, what?
Is that supposed to be like the god of performance, or something like that? Or like...
Yeah. What was that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know either.
Well, if this is all Yakumo basically just his own mind, right, causing all of this to happen,
right? Because we can't take the spiritual stuff as literally as possible,
right? Like we can hold it in this could definitely be the spirit of Sukeroku,
it's
but
art,
but it's art, right? Mm-hmm. So you can hold both, and from the perspective of all within Yakumo, then it's the idea that it's that other part of Yakumo, right? That I'm here is basically the one thing to make it so that way you give up, right? Because I feel like Sukeroku is basically the bait that the Shinigami uses to kind of draw him in, right?
To draw out the emotion,
right? And it didn't work last time. So it's going to happen again, but this time be a bit more forceful.
Yeah. God, just the transition, the transformation is just horrifying.
Yep.
And then he like hold out your hand, and then.
He's got a Zuko scar now.
Yeah, he has a Zuko scar, like literally, like even on the
right side.
The correct side.
The correct side. yeah.
But oh my god! So he doesn't let go, and we're going into the next episode with him potentially now finally being able to
be free.
Free. Like
I don't know. Well,
he might if
the truth needs to come out.
Yep.
It needs to happen, right? And maybe now he'll finally be okay with
it. He'll be able to do it.
Right, but
yeah.
So,
but y'all, this was an amazing episode.
Ridiculously good.
I'm floored. Yeah. So cannot wait for the next episode.
No, get off the floor and exit though. That's the important thing.
Take your hand. Yeah, exactly. So if you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get on early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there. And all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us and the community there about this show, about anime in general. And you can also talk with Jacob about the sci-fi novel that he wrote.
Yeah, so I wrote a sci-fi novel. It's called Battle Lines. It's really cool. And it's on Amazon. Link in the description below if you want to get it. Inside the U.S., it's hardback and ebook. Outside the U.S., it's just ebook. But go check it out.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.